Hi loves, it's Emmeline. You guys really liked my baking video last week, so I wanted to treat you guys to another one this week. This week's recipe is coming from Betty Crocker's Special Occasion Cakes. This book is from 1957, so I've been getting so many requests to do Marie Antoinette styled cakes, and I wanted to put a little disclaimer out there that she's definitely not someone we should look up to, but I think we can all agree that the style of the Marie Antoinette movie was absolutely amazing, and the cakes and desserts looked so adorable, so I wanted to recreate some of those for you guys. So first, I'm just preheating the oven to 350 degrees. Large mixing bowl, I'm taking 1.5 cups of flour, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, half a teaspoon of salt, and 1 cup of sugar, and I am just mixing that all together, and then I'm going to put it all in a sifter and sift out all the ingredients. And sifting is really good because it makes sure that there are no lumps in your mixture. So now it's time to add in the wet ingredients. So for that, I'm taking 1/3 cup of vegetable oil, 2/3 cup of milk, and then I'm also adding in a teaspoon of flavoring. The recipe doesn't call for any flavoring in particular, so I decided to go for almond because almond is my absolute favorite. It smells so good. I wish the whole house could smell like almond extract because it is just that amazing. And then last but not least, I added in 1 egg. Now I'm just taking my mixer and mixing this all together. Once your batter is fully mixed, you can put it into your cake pan. So since all of my stuff is still packed away, I haven't unboxed any of my baking stuff yet. All I had was this big casserole dish, so I'm using this. I just covered it with some butter, that way the cake doesn't stick. And you guys don't have to use a flat dish like this. You guys can use mini cake dishes. It'd probably be a lot easier. It saves you some time. But if you guys don't have those, I'm going to show you what you can do. So I'm just pouring in all the batter into my baking dish and I'm smoothing it out. So I'm going to place this in the oven, and since it was so flat, it only took about 20 minutes to bake. You want to make sure you keep a close eye on it so that it doesn't burn. Yay, our cake is finally done. So I'm just taking it out of the oven. My whole house smelled like almond extract. It was absolutely heavenly. It smelled so amazing. So my little trick to tell if a cake or cupcakes is done is I just push my finger onto the cake, and if it bounces back at me, it means that it's done. So I also don't have any cookie cutters because all my stuff, like I said, is boxed away. So I just took a cup and I'm using that as a cookie cutter to cut out a bunch of circles. You guys can cut out any shape you want. It'd definitely be really cute if you cut these into some fun shapes. They kind of look like biscuits when they're done, but that's okay. They definitely don't taste like biscuits. So I'm going to start off by making a frosting. I'm going to refer to this one as frosting and the next one as icing, just so you guys remember. So for the frosting, I'm taking 1 stick of butter, a 1/3 cup of Crisco vegetable shortening, and I'm just mixing that together. I also added in 1 teaspoon of almond extract. Next, I'm adding in 3 cups of confectioner's sugar. And when it comes to frosting, you might have to add in more sugar, you might have to add in more butter. You kind of just have to play around with it. I also added in a splash of milk. Depending on your climate, it might be extra melty, so you might have to add in more sugar to kind of stiffen things up. You guys will see it was super hot in my house, so the frosting kind of melted a little bit, but I'll show you guys that in a second. So now for the icing, I am taking 1 cup of confectioner's sugar and I'm just adding in a little bit of milk and mixing this together, and basically I just keep adding more milk and sugar until I get the consistency that I like. So I did decide to use my mixer for this just to make sure all the clumps were out, and this is the consistency that we want. It's a little bit runny but still pretty thick. So next I just added in a dot of red food coloring to make this pink, and I got a beautiful color. Of course you guys can use any colors that you want, but from the movie most of the desserts were pink. Now comes the fun part, which is decorating. So I am taking 2 pieces of the cake and I'm just going to fill the center with some jam. You guys can put in anything you would like. You can put more frosting in, you can put jam, chocolate, fruit, anything you want, just fill it. So I'm taking the pink icing that we made and I am just spreading it on top. And basically what you guys will see is that the icing will start to drip and it kind of forms a coat around the cake. So what I like to do is just put a lot of the icing on top and start to push it down the sides, and it will naturally just fall and drip, and it creates a really nice covering over the cake. You guys can leave it so that some of the cake is exposed. I think it looks really cute that way, but I wanted to make mine a little bit more authentic to the movie, so I completely covered mine with icing. We're going to come back to this cake in a little bit, but I wanted to let the icing kind of harden and set before we do anything else. So now we're going to move on to this cake. I made this one with 3 layers, and I took the Wilton 104 tip and I created this zigzag pattern. And if you guys have ever seen ribbon candy, that's exactly what this looks like. Well, at least it's supposed to look like that. It was really hot in the house, so everything was kind of melting together, unfortunately. I'll definitely have to do this technique again when it's a little bit cooler. That way you guys can see exactly what it's supposed to look like, but I think it still came out really beautiful and adorable. It always kind of reminds me of a ballet tutu. So to decorate this cake, I decided to put this little piece of vintage jewelry on it. And I've seen some people do this where they take objects like jewelry and decorate cakes with it. Obviously, you just want to make sure that you clean it properly before you put it on your cake. I think it just looks really pretty and looks very Marie Antoinette-ish. So for this next cake, I took a Wilton number 3 tip and I'm just creating a scalloped edge along the top, and then I repeated the same process. Next, I took the number 16 tip and I created these little shells of basically along all of the scalloped edges, and I created that also along the bottom of the cake, and this just helps to make it look a lot more put together. And I've seen a lot of desserts like this, especially from La Durée. It's my favorite bakery. I'm sure you guys love it too, and it just kind of reminded me of one of the desserts from there. I also decided to take some edible pearls to top off this dessert. Next, I created little flowers by making circular motion with the piping bag. And I just put this all along the top of the cake. I thought it looked absolutely adorable. And I finished it off by putting a bigger one in the center. And I decided that I didn't like the way that the scallops looked with the original tip I used, so I went back over that with this tip, and I think it made it look much more fancier and so adorable. So I topped this off with a raspberry because in the movie and online, a lot of times I see these desserts are made with real fruit, so I wanted to add that, and I think it adds a really pretty color. For this last cake, I just frosted it white, and I'm taking that same number 16 tip with some frosting that I colored pink, and I'm just making a swirly motion across the bottom and the top to create a pretty border. I wasn't really sure how to decorate this one. I kind of was losing my creativity for this. I wasn't really sure what to do. So I went out to the garden and I picked some flowers, and I wanted to just put these on top to decorate it because I thought it looked very girly and dainty. So the last thing I did to this cake was took some of those pearls and put them across the middle of the cake. So that is all for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed these treats. I definitely would love to try this again when it's not so hot, so everything is not a melting hot mess. But if you guys recreate these, be sure to tag me in your pictures. I think these are adorable for a girls' day or a tea party, or just if you're bored. It's really fun to make. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll talk to you in my next one. Bye!